Is Albania only organized crime, poverty, and abandoned communist bunkers? Does it have a deep past and an overlooked culture? Today I'll answer these questions. But before these, look at the flag. A black eagle on red cloth. Two heads looking in different directions. The colors are not decoration. Blood given willingly. The eagle is not arrogance, a bird that watches and kneels to no one. This banner is older even than the country that claims it. It was carried on the banner of a man called Skanderbeg, who lived in the Middle Ages. The people there don't call this land Albania. They call it Shqipëria, the land of eagles. And if you go there, when a man nods his head, he's saying no to you. When he turns his head to the side, he means yes, the exact opposite of what you know. This flag was raised twice, more than 400 years apart. The first man who flew the flag did not live long enough to see what it became. His name was Gjirokastër. The world knew him as Skanderbeg when the calendar showed 1443. He climbed a rocky ridge north of Tirana to where the mountain called Sari Saltik suddenly ends and the whole plain stretches open. There he raised the flag and told his enemies they could go no further. You might think he was a king, but he was not a king. He had no great army behind him. He had only a rock and the men who would stand behind him. And with what he had, he defended this rock for 25 years. Siege upon siege. Sultan Murad II came with his great army behind him, but turned back without taking this place. Then Mehmed the Conqueror, the man who conquered Constantinople, came for the same lands, but he too turned back without taking it. They call this the Fortress of the Eagle. The name is not decoration. The wall sits on the stone and stands as if it grew from it. Go down from the castle to the city, and you'll see a bazaar that has barely changed in 500 years. The man hammering copper trays, the women working at the stalls. In the air, the smell of leather, pine resin, and roasted chestnuts. In the museum above, helmets, carved swords, banners. Skanderbeg died in 1468. Within 10 years after Skanderbeg's death, Mehmed the Conqueror conquered this place too, and the castle fell. From this event until 400 years later, Albania would be Ottoman land. In the north, where the Drin and the Kiri intersect with the Buna, lies Shkodra, among the oldest cities in all the Balkans. For centuries it was simply a gate. On one side, Central Europe, on the other, the Ottoman world. There, every autumn fills with jazz. A Catholic cathedral and an Ottoman mosque stand only a few minutes' distance from each other. And when evening comes, you'll see people walking in the streets. They call this the Kshiro. In the time of the communists, when speaking was forbidden and dangerous, this city stayed silent but did not bend. Most of all, the Catholics. Above, on a rocky outcrop, lies Rozafa, rough stone directly on the bedrock, Illyrian foundations, older than 2,000 years. Rome fortified it. Venice rebuilt it. The Ottomans besieged it many times. 800 meters of wall, 3 courtyards, an armory, channels carved for water. According to one story, 3 brothers were building the wall. Every night, the wall they built by day collapsed. A wise man told them that for the wall not to collapse, a woman had to be sacrificed, had to be buried within it, whichever bride brought the meal tomorrow. 2 brothers went home and warned their wives. The youngest said nothing. Rozafa came with the bread. When they told her, she did not run. She asked only this: Leave my right arm free, my right eye, my right hand, my right foot, so that I can love my son, see him, touch him, rock his cradle. Now go there. Water still flows from that stone. Visitors still visit this place. To see this place, you must be determined. The road curves in different ways along the cliff, narrowing to a single lane at blind turns. Then, a 3-hour ferry journey. The first thing you'll notice is how silent the lake is. The sound of the motor echoes back to you. Limestone reaching some 30 kilometers, rising straight from the clear water, turning and turning. They compare it to the fjords of Norway. There is no road on either shore, no city nearby. Only stone houses in corners you can reach only by boat, small stone steps going down to the water, a rope, a boat hull, a child waving, goats standing in corners you wouldn't believe. This is the life of the people here. But understand this well. None of this was made for decoration. In the 1980s, a dam closed the drain, and the water rose. Beneath what you float on was a valley, farmland, worked for centuries by the labor of farmers. The villagers were removed from their own lands. The dam was built by hand by thousands of people, and most of the workers were political prisoners. The rulers wanted a country not dependent on the outside. This was their dream, and this was the price. The ferry docks at Fjersa. The valley is still visible below. The water simply waited and quietly covered it. From Koman, a side channel opens and the surroundings soften. Shala. As you come to the river, the water turns pale turquoise, at its deep points, dark blue. In some places, you see the polished stones lying at the bottom as if there were nothing above them. Underground springs feed it, so it stays cold all year round, even in the hottest times. Foreigners compare this place to a little Thailand. For decades, only those who lived in the mountains saw this place. Now there are wooden platforms built on the rocks, a bar or two made at the water's edge. Everything comes by boats, but the light comes from a generator. Above, figs and wild grasses hang from the cliff. Now come to Valbona, a valley stretching 25 kilometers. The peaks stand at 2,694 meters. Below, beech forest. Above, high pasture. As the seasons pass, its color changes. All summer green, then in autumn red and gold. Almost more than 1,600 plant species grow here. The wolf, the brown bear, the lynx, the eagle above. The river flows clear blue. That is glacier dust suspended in the water. Touch your hand to the water. Within seconds, you'll feel your fingers freezing. In 2009, scientists came and proved that there are living glaciers in these mountains. Among the southernmost glaciers in all of Europe, sitting low, on the shaded north-facing walls where the models said it couldn't be. The locals here always knew this. No one had thought to ask them. The villages are not counted by streets. They are counted by their houses. The warm bread, yogurt, and sweet conversation offered to you that you cannot refuse. For generations, these mountains were governed by a law called the Kanun. According to the Kanun, the guest was sacred. They called it Besa, the oath. The safety of a stranger who knocked on your door was as precious as your own life. Not with your money, with your life. But the same law had another side, too. There was a law for blood as well. A man who shed blood could lock himself inside a stone tower, safe and far from revenge. He could look outside, but he could never step outside. Some stayed inside for years, some never came out. The same law that keeps a stranger alive keeps a criminal locked in a tower. You leave Valbona by crossing a pass at 1,795 meters. It is one of the great hikes in Europe. Protected old beech forests, white covers of snow that don't melt until July. Both sides of the summit are cliffs falling steeply, and for a moment you feel small. Then you descend into a narrow valley between granite walls, and before you, you'll see the water. Grunas. Meltwater falling straight down mossy limestone. In spring, the water flows loudly. You hear it before you see it. They declared this place a natural monument. There is no railing or viewing platform here. No one needs to protect you from it. At 3 hours walking distance to the south, the Blue Eye, a karst spring. The water pushes up from the solid rock with such force that no diver has ever reached its bottom. Many have tried. The rock still keeps its secret. Even in the hottest months, it doesn't rise above 8 degrees. Its color changes with the angle of the light. Sometimes turquoise, sometimes sapphire. How deep it is, we can only guess. Down from the mountains, descend to Tirana at the foot of Mount Dashti. Look at what this city does not have. It has no ancient skyline, no great cathedral, no river passing through its middle. It was raised in the 17th century and became the capital in 1920. The most beautiful thing this one among Europe's old cities possesses is color. In the early 2000s, the mayor was a painter. He looked at the gray communist blocks and decided to have them painted. Pink, orange, green, living colors over the soulless concrete. Structurally, nothing changed. Only the color. The change was enough. There is a neighborhood called Bloku. Once an ordinary citizen was forbidden to enter here. It was where the party men lived with their guards. Today, it is full of cafes and galleries. And this, for its size, Tirana has one of the densest communities of cafes and bars in all of Europe. The street once closed to normal people now sells coffee to everyone. In Skanderbeg Square, one of the largest pedestrian squares on the continent, on one side an Ottoman mosque. On the other stand the History Museum and the old party headquarters. Inside the Itham Bay Mosque, the walls are painted with trees and landscape pictures. The local old men play chess quietly under their trees. Children chase each other in the square with joyful shouts. Life in the city has not ended. And at the same time, it cannot be stopped. About an hour from the capital, there is a lake called Bovilla. The road up to it climbs with dangerous and steep turns. You have to drive patiently. Then you see the water lying still before you, everything spread beneath, turquoise near the rock, going to dark green at the deeper points, and limestone cliffs rising straight from the water. Now listen carefully to this. That water is not a view. It is the life source of the people of Tirana. A dam holds it steady. Every glass in the city comes from this green water. Nothing here is easy. There is no easy slope to the shore, no meadow. The rock was here before all of us, and still rules life. The water only borrows the space in between. South of Tirana, on a rock at 329 meters, lies Petrella. After seeing Kruja, this place will look small to you, but its purpose was never to be big anyway. It stands above the Erzin Valley and watches the roads connecting the interior to the plain, and the plain to the sea. In the old days, a signal point. Its history goes back to the Byzantines. The form you see now belongs to the time of Skanderbeg, and here is a truth few speak of. While Skanderbeg fought, his sister defended this castle, Mamica Castrioti, because resistance does not happen only on the battlefield. Someone must hold the road, carry the grain, know which man can be trusted. That is the truly hard part. The main tower is still in good condition. Today there is a small tavern inside it. On these walls, daily life is spoken of more than war. The olive harvest, trade with the neighboring village. On the Adriatic, a piece of land surrounded by waters. Cape Roden. Skanderbeg built not only in the mountains, but here too. A castle on this cape, watching the sea, made in the 15th century. The walls are small, but the walls were not what mattered. Where they stood, that was what mattered. Beside it, the Church of St. Anthony, older than any border on the maps. For centuries, people have come here through hard roads to pray. A castle and a church, side by side. No hotel, only sand and shallow water. Wind, cicadas, salt. Now rosemary and sea pine grow through the soil. Half the wall collapsed long ago. Kruja still stands. Near Fear, one of the greatest cities of the ancient world was made and lost. No one knows exactly why. Apollonia. Greek settlers from Corinth and Corfu raised it, about 600 years before Christ, one of the great city-states of the Illyrian coast. When Caesar was killed in Rome, a young man was studying here. His name was Octavian. When he left this place and went home, his name became Augustus. At its peak, they said this city rivaled Athens in learning and prestige. When you go today, you meet an empty field, columns rising from the grass, foundations stretching into the earth, wild thyme, cicadas. Only a small part has been excavated. The rest still lies beneath the soil. Now come to Berat and look at the city. They call this the city of 1,000 windows. Hundreds of white houses standing on the steep slopes of the Osum, each built the same way, stone below, white above, and a row of white houses facing the river. These houses are not palaces, ordinary family homes. On one side, Mangalem, where the Muslims live. On the other side, Gorica, the district where the Christians live. Between them, an Ottoman bridge built on Roman stones. Here the layers are not a figure of speech. They are the material itself. Climb to the Kala, the castle above. The history of the walls goes back to the 4th century BC, and people have lived inside ever since. 2,400 years. Laundry hangs on lines between Byzantine churches. Families still live in houses built in the 13th century. Every day, in these houses, someone is cooking. UNESCO took this place under protection, but not like a museum piece. No one preserved it. This place simply did not give up. In the museum are icons from the 16th century by a master named Onufri. He has a red that no one after him has ever matched. Not a single person. Some believe he used a material found only in these hills and destroyed the rest. Now, something you've never heard. This is the only country in Europe with a Muslim majority. About 60% of this country is Muslim, and there are old Orthodox and Catholic communities here. Look carefully at the two banks. For centuries they have stood side by side calmly, not in tension, like two different children of the same family. At sunset, the whole city catches the light and paints the city orange. Now we're going to a different water. South of Berat, the land changes shape. Berat's land is gentle. But the Osum Canyon is ruthless. For 26 kilometers, you'll see walls 100 meters high. In some sections, there is no path at all. The only passage is the water. The river carved those walls over millions of years, layer upon layer, from bone white to burnt orange. All these years to make a deep corridor rising hundreds of meters. There are more than 20 waterfalls in this canyon. In spring, the water roars, boats pass through the canyon, and every sound you make comes echoing back to you. In summer, the current slows, and the canyon grows quiet, leaving pools carved in the rock. There are names they've given this canyon: the Cathedral, the Devil's Gate, the same canyon, two different descriptions. 1,400,000 years. Think about that number. Lake Ohrid, on the border with North Macedonia, has been here that long. One of the oldest lakes in Europe. Nothing left it, and nothing could get in. Life continues as it did 1,000,000 years ago. 200 species of living things you'll see nowhere else in the world live here. They are older than the Ice Age, what remains from a world that has ended. The sediment at the bottom stands in layers, one for each season, going down and down. This is a calendar. Every empire I've told you about today, Rome, Venice, the Ottomans, all of them are a layer within the water. In the water, there is a trout they call the Koran. It evolved in this water, and you cannot find it anywhere else on Earth. Here you can see it at dinner. The Albanian shore is the quiet one. Olive groves and vineyards stretch down to the water. At Drylon, the springs move so slowly that you have to look closely to see them moving. Swans. Nothing here is in a hurry. A thin piece of land stretches toward the lake. Lynn. This place is very quiet. Red roofs lined up one after another. Stone paths, gardens, fishing nets cast into the sea. At the tip of the cape are the remains of a basilica from the 6th century. The floors are mosaic, and a fish figure is carved into them. 1,500 years ago, someone looked at the earth and decided to carve this figure telling of the importance of the water. They knew well what fed them. Beneath the houses, Roman mosaics. People never abandoned these lands. And under the water, in the shallow shores, houses on wooden piles driven into the lake bed thousands of years ago. The history here is not written only in books. It is there, below. Now we're going to the bridge near the village of Benja. You'll see a single stone arch, the Cadiz Bridge, the Kadiut. The Ottomans built it. It has seen floods and earthquakes but did not collapse. And here's the joke of it. The reason it is standing is that cars cannot pass over it. It was made for pedestrians and animals to cross, not for motors. So the motors went elsewhere and left it in peace. Beneath it, hot mineral springs push up from the riverbed. From 26 to 32 degrees, all year. No spa, no gate, no ticket. A few steps ahead, the river is cold. A few meters apart, two different worlds in the same river. Now we're going to a steep slope above the Drino Valley. Before you is Gjirokastër, a city built in the 12th century from a single thing: stone, slate roofs, slate walls, slate streets, so steep and so polished by the steps of those who pass that walking down is almost as hard as climbing up. No one laid this stone for decoration. They laid it to endure. And that is exactly what makes it beautiful. The houses stand like towers. They are called kula. Thick walls, narrow windows, heavy slate above. built to withstand hard conditions. Enter the Zeket house or the Skendeli. You'll see two matched towers, an arched entrance, flowers painted on the walls, and hand-carved wood. This is not a palace, merchant families. Whatever these people had of value, they kept it inside, where they lived. In the castle above, one of the largest in the Balkans, there are old cannons, an old clock tower, and an American military jet. They claimed they shot it down themselves. A spy plane, they said. The story is almost certainly a lie. The plane still stands there. This city gave the country two sons. One was Ismail Kadare, the greatest writer ever to come out of the country. The other, Enver Hoxha, who sealed the doors of this land for 50 years. In 1967, that second son declared Albania the first atheist state on earth. Every mosque and every church was taken under control. Some were demolished. The rest were turned into cinemas, warehouses, gyms. The 18th century mosque here was completely severed from its purpose. But it still stood, empty, waiting. Today it has been restored, and those who wish can pray inside. Every year they gather under the castle arches and sing their old songs. The stone outlived the empire that built it, and the man who tried to divert it from its purpose. Now we climb the Accursed Mountains. The forest around you thickens. The turns become sharper and more frequent. The air cools. Cloud comes down onto the road, and you have to slow down, because the cliff on your right is completely in mist and you cannot see it. Caesar's legions marched on this road. So did the army of every empire that wanted the Adriatic. No one came the easy way, because there is no easy way up here. As you climb, look carefully at the pines. Each one is bent in the same direction. Something here has pressed on them all their lives. Then the trees thin. At 1,000 meters you cross the summit, and the trees give way to the mountain, the Ionian, all of it at once. The Riviera lies below. On the horizon you can see the Greek islands, a ferry heading toward Corfu. Wild thyme, pine resin, and harsh wind. A while ago they opened a tunnel through the Sunten, faster and easier. It also passes beneath everything I've just told you. Descend from the pass, and you'll be amazed at the beauty you see before you. There is no coastal plain here. The mountains enter the Ionian directly. So for 50 kilometers, every beach stands at the foot of a mountain and is trapped between the mountains. Not a single coastline. A series of small, separate worlds, each divided from the other by rock. Out of season, the beaches fall silent, and the fishermen pull the boats onto the sand by hand. Now the interesting part. For 50 years, this place was closed. No hotels, no tourists, no road worth driving. While the rest of the Mediterranean was valued, paved, and sold, this coast quietly waited its turn. It was not protected by good sense. It was protected by fear. That fear poured concrete, bunkers, thousands of them, for an attack that never came. They are still here, on the beaches, in the dunes, on the stones. Today, most are now bars. The invasion, contrary to expectation, came with beach towels. Now let's go to Himare, lying between the Accursed Mountains and the sea, in a calm bay closed by two capes. People have lived here since ancient times. Below at the water's edge, a simple, calm life. Tavernas, modest houses, and fresh fish caught in the morning and brought to your table. Above, among the olives, the old village appears, looking at the castle on the stone. What remains of Himara's walls sits at the tip of the cape. Narrow streets, bougainvillea, cats sleeping in the shade of the trees. Down the coast at Livadi, open beaches. Listen carefully to the people talking. You'll hear Greek, an old dialect, but still spoken. This coast was always a border, and borders remember everyone who passes through them. And here is one more thing you should know about this country's language. Albanian belongs to no family, not Slavic, not Latin, not Germanic, a language on its own, continuing to live alone in Europe, tied to no language family. A people keeping alive a language that resembles nothing else on this continent, and on their own shores, they allowed other languages to be spoken. Now we're going to Porto Palermo, in a sheltered bay. Ali Pasha of Tepelena raised it at the beginning of the 19th century and chose this ground deliberately. Water on every side, and yet its ground is solid, isolated from the land but never cut off. It's hard to come across this, but here it is before you. The shape of the castle is a triangle, and this is not for decoration. 3 sides, 3 angles, and someone looking from there can watch everywhere. Little stone, much sight. It was part of a chain of castles he threw across this whole region. The walls are thick, the windows narrow. Inside, vaulted rooms, narrow corridors. Nothing here was made for tourists. When you enter, you'll notice there is nothing. Bare, damp walls and your own footsteps echoing back to you from the stone. The bay is dark because the water is deep. At Kruja, you feel history. Here, history does not shout. Here, history is only an echo. And to hear it, you must listen carefully. The curving bay looking directly at Corfu, Saranda, raised like an amphitheater around the water. In the hot times it empties, and after the sun sets it fills again, the tables spilling into the street. Now I'll tell you an interesting truth. After everything I've told you today, this city is new. This city is a modest fishing village, and most of it was raised after communism fell. But its name is old. Agioi Saranda, the 40 Saints, the name of the Christian monastery that once looked down on that bay from above. Older still, the whole place was Onchesmos, where sailors, merchants, and pilgrims came for thousands of years. Go a few meters from the center, and you see the foundations of Onchesmos, Byzantine mosaics, and the remains of a synagogue. Remember Berat, the mosque and the church across the river. Here there is a 4th layer too, all within a small area. South of Saranda, on a wooded neck of land surrounded by lagoon, lies Butrint. People lived here for about 2,500 years. This was the first place in this country taken under protection. Virgil says Helenus founded it, a prince who fled Troy as Troy burned and built a smaller version of the city he had lost, they say. In the 6th century BC, they built a theater into the slope. Stand in the middle of the theater. It was made 2,300 years ago, but still keeps its shape. Rome added baths, an aqueduct, a forum. In the 6th century, they built a baptistery, one of the largest of the ancient world, and its mosaic floors, 1,500 years later, the colors are still bright. A little above them all, a Venetian castle. Across the channel, an Ottoman fortress, and the castle of Ali Pasha, reachable only by boat. Remember Apollonia, where everything is buried and silent. Here nothing is buried, everything is above ground. The layers stand side by side in the open air, all at the same time, and no one has tidied it. Roots wrap the columns, fish move in the water, water birds come and go. 29 square kilometers, protected as much for the marsh as for the stone. The past was not torn down here. It is still standing. Now we're going to Ksamil at the southernmost tip. 4 small empty islands sit a few hundred meters off the shore. The water is so clear you can see the bottom. You can go by swimming or by boat. In places the depth doesn't even reach your waist. Ksamil. Sand as fine as dust. The water changes color as the world moves, turns as the day turns. Turquoise at dawn, sapphire at noon, silver in the evening. A few years ago, no one knew its name. A fishing footnote. Today, it is the country's most famous beach, but beside the Greek islands, it still stays quiet. When the season ends and the tourists leave, the vegetable gardens and the fishermen come back to the shore. The Mediterranean's newest treasure. It took 3,000 years to be found. Now we return north, back to where we began. Remember the flag at the beginning. Remember Kruja. A man raised it on the pole in 1443, defended a rock for 25 years, and died without seeing what it became. On November 28, 1912, in this city, a man named Ismail Kemali rose up and raised the same flag again, the same black eagle, the same red, and he declared the independence of Albania. 469 years. That is the time that passed between one hand and the other. No one alive on that day in 1912 had ever seen their country independent. Their grandfathers had not seen it. Even their great-grandfathers had not seen it. They knew it only as much as it was told. The monument now stands in the main square, and beside it, the museum. Vlora is a calm place. A turquoise bay, pebbled shores, olive groves. A little beyond, the Karaburun Peninsula and Sazan, our largest island, used as a military base throughout the Cold War. For decades, ordinary citizens were forbidden to enter. Now a few boats go, and the island is slowly coming back to life. On the forbidden lands, fishermen now mend their nets. Now we are slowly coming to the end of the journey. The flag was raised twice, 469 years between one hand and the other, and it was the same flag. But that was not the last. Freedom came, but then it was lost again. 50 years of it, and no one outside knew what was behind them. Then look at what happened. The street where the party men lived, that street you could not enter, is now a place where everyone can walk. The mosque in Gjirokastër, whose purpose was blocked, is now full of people praying inside. And the bunkers built in fear for an invasion that never happened are now used as bars. None of them was destroyed. They were all outlived. And all this time, Ohrid kept displaying its layers, one for each season counting. The blue eye kept pushing up from the rock, and still no one has reached its bottom. The Vjosa kept flowing to the sea without asking anyone's permission. None of them cared about our names. This land never conquered. It never expanded. It only kept standing, and proved that this was enough. And right here, our long road ends. Thank you for not leaving me alone on this journey. Don't forget, never lose hope in the world, because there is always a light of hope. See you in the next videos.